Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the inside look at the $1 trillion+ business of sports. The final major of the year, getting ready for the U.S. Open in tennis. NFL training camps lead to the first set of preseason games. College football just around the corner. We'll talk about all of those issues, as well as some NBA stuff. And just get back from Vienna. We'll talk about that as well. If you want the list of all of our topics, including the 15 top 5 tech 5 power, look at csnwashington.com, at Rick Horrow, horrowsports.com. All of those places, you'll get the full list. You can also subscribe to us on Apple and look for us on Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, whole bunch of places that we are and will continue to be. We explore the issues of news, deal making, and the business of sports like none other. And I'm tired. I just got back from about 10 days in Vienna. I know it's hard duty, but someone's got to do it. The A1 Major Vienna, presented by Swatch Beach Volleyball Tournament, turned into a big party. 8,000 fans packed into Red Bull Arena to watch the action on the main stage, and thousands more roamed the tournament grounds, partaking in the festivities. It's unlike anything American sports fans are accustomed to. The majority of the seats in Red Bull Beach Arena were free for fans, upbeat music blasted in between each point. And each set involves other major concert ideas and some of the things that it's kind of hard even to understand. Most of the fans showed up on Danube Island in proper beach attire, basking in the sun and taking advantage of the water hoses that sprayed the masses with stands to help keep cool. The $600,000 purse provided proper incentive for all competing teams, though the Australian duos had the boost of a raucous home crowd. They didn't win, though. Anders Mole and Christian Sorum of Norway had double reason to celebrate.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
Their superb A1 Major Vienna, presented by Swatch victory, the gold medal lifted those Vikings to the top of the world rankings. Now we go to Lauderdale for the beach volleyball tournament beginning of February, a year before the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you a little full disclosure, I'm involved with making sure that Americans see the magic of this event. We've got about 4 months to put it all together, and 5 months, no doubt it'll happen. International sports, Americans sometime are thinking about only them. But when you think about all of this, this is huge. It's a big opportunity for the United States and South Florida to take advantage of some new sponsorship money, Red Bull's involvement, and a heck of an event, again, a year before the Super Bowl. And by the way, internationally, it's not just sleeping because Americans don't want to focus on it. Look at Ronaldo. His shocking move to Juventus not only expected to pay dividends for the Italian giants, but for all Serie A clubs. The Sun says that the Portuguese international arrival in Turin prompted clubs around Italy to significantly raise ticket prices for home matches against the old ladies. Some clubs have gone as far as raising prices by an astounding 600%. No other club has gone to the extreme that Parma has to capitalize on the Ronaldo craze. Tuttosport reported that the club, which declared bankruptcy in 2015, had been forced to work its way up through a lower leagues of Italian soccer, appears keen to take advantage of its return to Serie A in conjunction with Ronaldo's presence. The average price for a seat in the north end of Parma's stadium costs merely $29, but for the same seats now being priced at $207 when Juventus comes to town. How about that for variable pricing? For perspective, an average season ticket price for Parma last year, season ticket price, $220. Well, before we get into some baseball stuff and our big interview for the week, it's if you fly Allegiant Airlines, it'll be kind of an interesting perspective on this. But let's talk about golf because we're ready for the PGA. 2018 PGA Championship returning to St. Louis for the first time in 26 years. The event expected to generate about $102 million for Missouri's economy, according to the PGA of America. The number right in line with recent previous economic impacts of the PGA Championship: $100 million at Quail Hollow, $100 million at Baltusrol, $102 million at Whistling Straits and Kohler in 2015. And according to the National Golf Foundation, the total size of Missouri's golf economic impact in 2010, $1.7 billion, with direct golf economy, $886 million. This includes supporting 21,000 jobs and $485 million in annual wage income. A total of 320 golf facilities in Missouri, and the study by T-Economy Partners found out that golf is about an $84 billion industry, up 22% in the last 5 years. It's heading in the right direction. Impacts nearly 2 million jobs while supporting about $60 billion in annual wage income. And after his WGC Firestone win on Sunday, all eyes on Justin Thomas in St. Louis this week as he attempts to defend his PGA Championship title and join Tiger Woods as the only players to win back-to-back in stroke play. A few eyeballs, by the way, they may be on Tiger too. We all know that. The PGA Championship begins in Bellerive, and Senior Director of Merchandising and Licensing Mike Quirk believes that hat sales at the merchandise shop could hit $100,000 over 10 days. I'd be lying if I said we were hoping it's the best PGA Championship ever. They are hoping that. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch, crowds in the merchandise tent expected to be so large the 50 cash registers will be open on peak days, measuring 360 feet by 130. The space is a sensory overload of colored golf apparel and unexpected merchandise, almost all of which available only in the store. And slowly but surely, all of golf's other majors have emulated the Masters by providing exclusive merchandise on site that's not available online nor merchandised elsewhere. And in an age when paperless tickets are becoming the norm, exclusive logoed merchandise will eventually be the sports fan's only way of visually boasting, "I was there." Expect the pricing to keep pace, by the way. We all know that. And good for St. Louis, bad for Akron. The WGC Bridgestone Invitational concluded at Firestone, and players expressed sadness that Akron will no longer hold a PGA tournament after hosting one for 65 years. Tiger Woods, who won the event 8 times but finished tied for 31st on Sunday, would surely lobby the PGA Tour to return to Firestone after the event heads to Memphis. But even Woods said he doesn't know how feasible it is. Bridgestone committed to sponsor the Senior Players Championship for 4 years at Firestone, starting in 2019. And even if the tour could find a sponsor after the 4-year Senior Players run, many issues would need to be hammered out. Boosting tourism in the region, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game, and enshrinement in nearby Canton was a big deal and will continue to be a big deal. Generates over 80,000 people, the Bridgestone itself, 700,000 people drawn to the region for the weekend. Hall of Fame induction ceremony itself drew a record 22,000 fans, encouraging numbers for the NFL as preseason matchups begin in earnest this week. But before we get back to football on the college level, let's talk baseball from an interesting perspective. Corporate dollars always really important, and the world is driven by corporate involvement. Minor League Baseball, as we've said before, leads the way. 160 teams, 40 million or so every year for 13 years in a row of fans, and even more under the able leadership of Pat O'Connor and others. Allegiant Airlines cut a major deal with the minor league baseball folks to service all of the markets they market, which coincide amazingly with most minor league baseball teams, but also some new revenue share and sponsorship opportunities. Maury Gallagher is the chairman and CEO of Allegiant since the startup in 2003. He was the director. He's a startup airline genius, the chairman of the board of Empower Communications Corp, started up ValueJet, West Air, and others, and obviously a big-time management guy. He also owns GMS Racing, a NASCAR team racing in the Infinity Series and the Camping World Truck Series. The company that he's involved in has a commitment not only with him, but his son Spencer Gallagher races for the team. He also has a big baseball involvement, who is the key architect in pulling the Allegiant and minor league baseball partnership together. So we talk racing, we talk minor league baseball, we talk corporate involvement, we talk Maury Gallagher. Rick Horrow, inside the boardroom, beyond the scoreboard, a whole host of really interesting perspectives at the AAA All-Star game here in Columbus. But this is broader than that. This is all about the inside workings of corporate leaders, how they make decisions in sports marketing, etc., well beyond the interests of minor league baseball. We'll get to that as well. Maury Gallagher, Chairman, CEO, founder, Allegiant Airlines.
Yes, sir.
Is that the right title?
Yes, close enough.
Did I miss anything?
No, close enough.
Okay, good. So you've had a very interesting career in the airline startup industry / crisis management as well. So talk a little bit about the world, ValueJet, the morphing into Allegiant, and how you got here, basically.
Well, I call myself a son of the Airline Deregulation Act, which happened in late 1978, when Jimmy Carter signed the act.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
Which is really a godsend, I think, for the transportation industry in this country. Flying in an airplane, while people may not care for the experience, it is by a margin the least expensive way to get around the U.S. and certainly in the world for what it's done. But I've just been involved in 3 carriers. The first one was a commuter, as we call it, affiliated with United Airlines, and we fly those little airplanes everybody loves to hate with the things that go around like that, right? Did that through 92, a founder of ValueJet in 1993. I've very much been a believer in technology. So we were the first carrier, as an example, to be fully ticketless. Nobody had done that at that point. So we used technology to, allow you to walk up and people knew you were coming. And then Allegiant got started with that in 2001, a third carrier. It was one airplane when I got involved, and today we have just close to 100 airplanes, and we're in 120 cities around the country. We'll carry 12 million, 13 million people this year. It's $1.5 billion in revenue, so it's been a good story.
An incredibly important story from a marketing perspective as well. People's perception of airline flight, convenience, cost savings, technology, safety, that basically drives your business, doesn't it?
Well, and in particular, we focused on a leisure customer. The average airline historically wakes up thinking of carrying a business person from A to B, leave at 8 in the morning, get home at 5. A leisure customer is more, not as schedule sensitive, but much more price sensitive. So we built our airline around being low cost, and operations drives a lot of your costs. But if you want to leave on Thursday and come back on Sunday because of a leisure vacation, that's what we're built for. And so half of our cities, we only have 2 flights a week. So it builds around that whole idea of taking you from here say, cold northern half of the United States to the sun and fun in the Floridas, the Arizonas, the Las Vegases. And from a corporate perspective, leisure, minor league baseball, like we're here visiting, just as hand in glove, fits terrific with us.
So let's talk about the minor league baseball relationship for a second. And I know it's ongoing, but you made a major commitment. One of the reasons I think is that the footprint of yours aligns favorably with 161 teams involved in minor league baseball. But give us other reasons why you developed this relationship.
Well, it starts with this customer is our customer, and we're big believers that leisure covers multiple fronts. A person that goes to a minor league baseball game is also going to take a leisure trip that may stay in a destination resort that might go to other events, and we're trying to coalesce a lot of these groups together so that we can really paint ourselves with a combination of loyalty, branding, etc. As when you think of leisure, think of Allegiant, think of Partners, minor league baseball, those types of things. So we get involved in a minor league game, we can offer free trips. So now you can start doing cross promotions, and what you're seeing in this world today is business to business relationships are becoming incredibly important. That something I do for this business helps us do something for our business.
How important is stability as well? Minor league baseball touts the 40 million fans a year for at least the last 13 years. And I know that it's not just the people in the ballpark because you're digitally savvy, but it is stability and its relationship with Major League Baseball as well.
Oh, yeah. All those things are important. Size, it's people, you tell people 40 million people go through the turnstile a year in minor league baseball. I think they're a bit drop-jawed. I did the math just on if you take the top three leagues, AAA, AA, single or high A, there's 90 teams and you do 140 games. That's 6,000 games a year. So the access to the fan base is, amazingly good, and these guys are getting 6, 8, 10,000 people a game. So it's a repetitive business. It really allows you to brand well, and you partner, and people have proven. When I'm in the NASCAR business as well, they'll follow that brand if it's affiliated with something they really like.
Well, and so from a national perspective, the minor league baseball deal is fairly unique for you in sense of an overarching relationship. A lot of Allegiant's relationships, marketing-wise, are regional. What made you decide to do this all in from a national perspective? Well,
the other thing on a national level that I think minor league baseball is going to set up is we're affiliated with a company called ISM that's going to start networking these parks together. So you put screens up around there, and all of a sudden you can take 30, 40, 60, maybe 100 stadiums, and you can message in the same fashion. So Allegiant can run a national message through these screens and promote nationally. We can have a drawing, we can do things that really start branding us on a uniform basis. And furthermore, you can do it with other sponsors. Instead of just having billboards on the left field and right field walls that are static and the like, you can now have great content. You can have stuff that draws people's eyes. You can really promote a lot of electronic digitalization plus the interaction with call to action. So you're at the screen, you use your phone, you get involved with a product. All those things are places people should be thinking about.
And the corporate creativity has to be really significant as well. Your alignment with ISM, the naming partner at Phoenix's Raceway, DC Solar, who's also involved.
Right.
So you're not just doing it alone. Talk about the creativity of packaging among corporate relationships.
Well, you're spot on. The B2B relationships, and I'm again being involved in NASCAR. You see a tremendous amount of that. Maybe the best person at it, one of the minor league participants here today, Tad Geschecter, runs JTG motorsports. He's a master at bringing people together and playing, your benefit will help this, who can help this. Joe Gibbs with Joe Gibbs Racing is marvelous at it. He's a line item literally in the Federal Express report of how the amount of business he brings to Federal Express, and yet you see them sponsoring his car every weekend, one of them. So that's an art form. It's a new art form, and it's got to be developed and evolved by, I think, generally a business as the relationships go forward.
All right, so tell us about GMS Racing.
Oh, well, I thought you'd never ask.
Well, you answered me twice, but now, all right, specifically, directly.
GMS, we've been very active for a number of years, and particularly with NASCAR since 2014 and thereabouts. And I'm proud to say we won a championship in 2016 at the truck level. We have a terrific guy running the show for us, a fellow named Mike Beam, who's 40 years in the business. And we have 5 truck teams this year at the truck level, and we've got 1 Xfinity team. And so come a long way, baby, as the old commercial used to say. But if you want competition, there's no reset button. There's no video, do it over again. It's the real deal. So the emotions go up with the race, and unfortunately, only one person wins. So that's 30, 40 cars showing up. It's quite the emotional run.
One person wins, but everybody's entertained, and hopefully that's part of the process as well. So you're an industry veteran. You've been through the wars in a lot of different contexts, airline building, but a sports marketing, a marketing opportunity to do that. What's changed the most in the past 20, 30 years from a marketing and sports marketing perspective?
Oh boy, I'm more on the finance side, but I'll take a swag at this. The marketing side has gotten to be very personal. You take that telephone and the like, the whole ability to grab information when you want it, the ability to get to somebody has completely changed. That television commercial that used to be sacrosanct and everybody was paying for it is going the way of the buggy whip in many ways, because marketing people want data. They want to know when I put a message up, I get a return for it, rather than I think, I feel. It's got to be data centric. And so part of what, for instance, ISM does is it captures demographics. It knows who's watching the screen. It can feed that data back to the sponsors. So all that type of activity is really coming to the front, and there's a lot of money still around for advertising, but it's being reallocated in different formats. And if you can't feed that information back to the advertiser or the brand, it's going to be tough to get their attention.
And so from your financial perspective, you take over a company, you start it, and you realize that marketing is important, sports marketing important, in case of Allegiant. How much of the minor league baseball relationship, NASCAR, all of those relationships are ROI driven, metrics, analytical driven, or gut?
Well, I think you start with gut and then you prove it out. We've been, I know, for instance, we were the Bengals. When we started in Cincinnati, we got involved with the Bengals. Sports is leisure. We're a leisure company. So that combination is really, intuitively good to start with. And minor league baseball, that customer, like in Indianapolis, Columbus, you name all the cities, those are places we're very focused on.
Where is Allegiant and its relationship with baseball 5 years from now?
I think we're deep and wide with minor league baseball in particular, because it's also an affordable sport.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow, the sports professor. We're going to rewind our featured interview, reset the show a little bit, and pick up from there. Here's Rick Horrow.
We have a terrific guy running the show for us, a fellow named Mike Beam, who's 40 years in the business. And we have 5 truck teams this year at the truck level, and we've got 1 Xfinity team. And so come a long way, baby, as the old commercial used to say. But if you want competition, there's no reset button. There's no video, do it over again. It's the real deal. So the emotions go up with the race, and unfortunately, only one person wins. So that's 30, 40 cars showing up. It's quite the emotional run.
One person wins, but everybody's entertained, and hopefully that's part of the process as well. So you're an industry veteran. You've been through the wars in a lot of different contexts, airline building, but a sports marketing, a marketing opportunity to do that. What's changed the most in the past 20, 30 years from a marketing and sports marketing perspective?
Oh boy, I'm more on the finance side, but I'll take a swag at this. The marketing side has gotten to be very personal. You take that telephone and the like, the whole ability to grab information when you want it, the ability to get to somebody has completely changed. That television commercial that used to be sacrosanct and everybody was paying for it is going the way of the buggy whip in many ways, because marketing people want data. They want to know when I put a message up, I get a return for it, rather than I think, I feel. It's got to be data centric. And so part of what, for instance, ISM does is it captures demographics. It knows who's watching the screen. It can feed that data back to the sponsors. So all that type of activity is really coming to the front, and there's a lot of money still around for advertising, but it's being reallocated in different formats. And if you can't feed that information back to the advertiser or the brand, it's going to be tough to get their attention.
And so from your financial perspective, you take over a company, you start it, and you realize that marketing is important, sports marketing important, in the case of Allegiant. How much of the minor league baseball relationship, NASCAR, all of those relationships are ROI driven, metrics, analytical driven, or gut?
Well, I think you start with gut and then you prove it out. We've been, I know, for instance, we were the Bengals. When we started in Cincinnati, we got involved with the Bengals. Sports is leisure. We're a leisure company. So that combination is really, intuitively good to start with. And minor league baseball, that customer, like in Indianapolis, Columbus, you name all the cities, those are places we're very focused on.
Where is Allegiant and its relationship with baseball 5 years from now?
I think we're deep and wide with minor league baseball in particular, because it's also an affordable sport. Major League Baseball with your kind of NFL city profile is not our strength. This part of the world is much more our strength. So we'll develop this and we'll see where it goes from there. But I expect this to be quite successful.
So you're on the board of advisors of UC Davis, or the graduate school, the Dean's Advisory Council?
Yes, I have been on that, yes.
Okay, and so how do you have time to play golf as much as you do and still do all of these academics?
Well, they don't meet that often, thank goodness. And I went to Davis many years ago, so it's been a great experience, and it's been good to give back.
Maury Gallagher, it's incredibly compelling to speak with you, hear your story. Thank you very much. Well, Maury Gallagher has some interesting perspective in the world of baseball, and frankly, it's not just minor league baseball, but it's all of baseball as well, because when you listen to him, the metrics of getting involved on the corporate side are exactly the same kind of metrics as you would get involved on a regular basis everywhere. And so Major League Baseball ought to realize that it is in it together with minor leagues and corporations all over the place. Take a look at some of the teams in Major League Baseball and what they're doing. The Pirates, traditionally a team that focuses more on the bottom line than short-term success, shocked Major League Baseball by making two major moves before the trade deadline. Chris Archer and Keone Kala, in moves that not only signaled their intention to compete for a playoff berth, but a departure from their penny-pinching ways the season passed. Heading into 2018, the Pirates had MLB's fourth smallest payroll baseball, about $90 million compared to the Red Sox 227. Traditionally a team that looks to build for the future by investing in young prospects and trading away star players, just as they did in January when they shipped pitcher Garrett Cole and Andrew McCutchen. The move left Pittsburgh buzzing about baseball on the final day of July, which is what the deal should be anyway. Archer, the former Rays pitcher, largely considered the biggest star traded before the deadline, and looked for the Pirates to try to steal some thunder from the Steelers and the Penguins come the fall. So it's not just baseball from that perspective, but there's also the good and the bad. The Oakland A's continue to struggle to find a new stadium location. Opposition from local political groups everywhere. Port of Oakland's Howard Terminal near Jack London Square now being protested by a group identifying itself as Project Oakland's Shoreline Economy. The anonymously run group has posted a flyer outlining a list of drawbacks to the proposed move, including severe tragic impact to nearby warehouses and neighborhoods, and the hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer-funded infrastructure that'll be needed. This type of opposition is very similar to what negated the A's chances of building a ballpark next to Laney College near downtown Oakland, the team's initial first choice. The club's tried to renovate its current home, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, to make it more fan-friendly, but a new stadium is badly needed. At the same time, they're trying to retool their structure relative to their fans. They will no longer offer season tickets in the traditional format and will introduce A's Access, a new membership program for the 2019 season. A's Access provides all members general admission access to every 2019 regular season home game, a reserve seat plan, and significant benefits exclusive to members. To better meet the overall deal, they're changing their approach to membership. The flexible model serves fans who want more traditional reserve seat plan and those who desire more flexible and social experiences. That comes from the A's CEO, Chris Giles. And Access members will receive 50% off concessions, 25% off merchandise and parking, and will also include a flexible new payment plan, a 12-month option that auto-renews each year. And fans who purchase 2019 A's Access this season will have the first opportunity to purchase 2018 postseason packages. Yeah, they could probably get away with doing that right now, given where they are, and take advantage of that leverage. Up the road a little bit, down the road, the Dodgers. 15 years ago, the foundation and its partners constructed the first Dodgers Dream Field in an effort to increase baseball and softball access for young athletes in underserved communities throughout LA. Last week, the program came full circle with the groundbreaking ceremony for a milestone 50th Dream Field at Algin Sutton Recreational Center, the home of the very first Dream Field in 2003. 2003, we made a promise to the city of LA that we would build 50 fields, and today's really a celebration, said Nicole Whiteman, the executive director of the foundation. The latest Dream Field is a $300,000 baseball and softball playing field, partially funded by donations from the City of LA Department of Recreation and Parks, the Tyler Development Corporation, the LA 84 Foundation, and Dodgers outfield the Yasiel Puig. And since 2003, more than $10 million has been invested in the Dodgers Dream Field program. So baseball, from good to bad, certainly doing some things that are very important down the road. Let's end with talking about the NBA. We're not that far away. On the heels of the Supreme Court decision to legalize sports betting in all 50 states, the NBA has become the first major American sports league to sign an official gaming partner. The NBA signed a multi-year sponsorship with MGM Resorts International, reportedly worth more than $25 million over 3 years. And as the league's official gaming partner, MGM given access to official league data for use in betting, though the NBA will still retain the rights to license its data to other gaming operations, which seems likely to happen. The deal also includes rights to the WNBA, and the deal struck by Adam Silver, done in a fashion to give the league flexibility going forward in the rapidly emerging space. MGM Resorts chairman says to be able to have the official NBA data for sports bettors around the world is incredibly valuable, and I was willing to pay for that, he said. The gaming partner ice is broken, expect other American pro leagues to look very, 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 very closely at similar deals. On the NBA boardroom side, in another perspective, free agency bonanza of 2016 feels like longer than 2 years ago when you consider the amount of money spent during the 2018 window, a reflection of something far more arbitrary than pure talent over the last 3 years, according to John Wall Street and the Wall Street Journal as well, two different organizations. The carefree spending trend has calmed down as of late, with the market cooling last year and remaining a little bit chilly this year. Last summer, the total amount spent by teams during free agency dropped to about $2.4 billion from the over $3.5 billion. It is now at roughly $1.7 billion this year. It's a lot of money, but it's dropping. Players took smaller deals earlier in the summer as opposed to years past, trying to grab whatever money was available before it disappeared. And in addition to the size of contracts decreasing over the past 3 years, teams have shown their desire to hedge their bets by inking players to shorter contracts. Whereas the average contract lasted 2.3 years back in 16, the average length sits now at 1.9. Well, how about this? College basketball, college football, really important. We'll end with that. Buckeye players and fans await the fate of head coach Urban Meyer following accusations that Meyer was aware of domestic violence claims made against assistant coach Zach Smith but took no action. Ohio State investigating. At the meantime, restaurant chain Bob Evans suspended the partnership it had just signed with Meyer and removed all related content from its stores and website pending Ohio State's investigation. The company last week announced the new endorsement deal showcasing images of Meyer wearing a Bob Evans jacket and holding a branded coffee mug. And on Thursday, the Buckeyes were ranked third in USA Today's preseason Amway coaches poll. Fairly meaningless evaluation until play actually starts, but nonetheless, the Buckeyes' high ranking.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
Will place the program under even more scrutiny. Not expected to be affected, the school's lucrative deals with Fanatics and Nike, $97 million and $252 million, respectively. And then, of course, not to be outdone, and finally, at the governance level, the NCAA Commission on College Basketball, chaired by former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, has recommended that new regulated summer camps should replace a number of shoe brand-sponsored tournaments. According to John Wall Street, the Commission believes that the shoe-sponsored tournaments, mostly on the AAU circuit, have largely led to what has now become a full-blown scandal, with FBI involvement across the largely what has become that scandal largely across college hoops. And by replacing some of these tournaments across the country, the new camps would hopefully mitigate some of the influence that such preeminent shoe companies have, Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, all having influence over those young players. And the new regional summer camps would be run by USA Basketball and supersede, in terms of talent and coaches, existing tournament. A vote will take place within the next 30 days based on the Commission of College Basketball's final recommendations, and if approved, the changes will come into place in a fairly short period of time. Not sure exactly when, but it could be implemented in time for as early as summer of next year. The Paola shoe, it appears, is no longer on the other foot, and that's a serious comment as well. Well, that's it for Beyond the Scoreboard this week. We would like to thank Maury Gallagher and Allegiant for giving us his perspective on deals in racing and minor league baseball and otherwise. I'd like to thank Dan Martin and Tanner Simpkins for helping us put this together. We'd like to thank you for listening and watching, and most important, we'd like to thank you again for expressing some long-term faith in this show and joining us next week when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.